So I need to make some of these, which we then turn into these. So this ends up being a sheath or a mask for an axe. The material is Kydex, and we usually cut these out on our CNC milling machine. However, I want to try to keep our CNC milling machine free for other jobs, and I thought it'd be a fun project to try to make a stamp to stamp these out on our fly press. So we'll jump across to the computer and I'll show you what I've got in mind. Okay, so this is the part we need to make, and this is what I came up with for the die. So you'll notice here, we zoom in, there's a gap between the part and the die, and I've just did this for ease of manufacture. It doesn't really matter if that part actually ends here. So you can see essentially what we've made is a steel rule die, or that line of die anyway. You'll notice it's quite thick, but we're going to put our cutting edge on in our cam toolpath. So we're going to use a spot drill and drive it around and create a chamfer. So it is going to be a 45-degree angle on the cutting edge, but hopefully that will cut. Probably a finer cutting angle would be better, but we'll work with what we got. So these are for the holes. Again, we're going to drive a spot drill down into the centre and take us out this sharp edge on the outside. Not entirely confident that this is going to work, basically because this plug has nowhere to go, but my thought is we can give it a go, and if it doesn't work I'll simply just temper this part off and remove it. So in the centre here we have 3 holes for attaching the die, and then we have 2 holes here for extraction. So we'll look at extracting pins maybe at some stage in the future, but for now I think we're just going to use a couple of pins and manually knock out the blank from here. So to hold the die in our fly press, in our holder, we're just going to put this little bar in the back, and we're going to be able to clamp this in our quick change holder for our fly press. So we'll jump over to the cam and I'll show you the tool path. Okay, so this is a tool path. I'm just going to simulate it so you get an idea what's happening. So I'm just going to slow it down here. So this is us driving the spot drill around the edge, and this is actually going to create our cutting edge. So we're going to do this in a couple of hits. If I switch off my body just so you can see what the pure stock is going to look like. Alright, so now we can zoom in and have a look. So you can see we've used the spot drill to take this to a relatively sharp edge the whole way around. We might need to tweak our heights a little bit when we get in. Obviously the spot drill isn't to an exact point, so your set height isn't never perfect. And again, you'll see took it to a sharp point on the hole punches here. So that's it. So I have a piece of 01 sitting at the workshop and we're ready to go get it in the machine and get something cut. So the die has now been heat treated and tempered, and I've got a quick blast just to clean it up, and this is what we have ended up with. So it doesn't look too bad. I'm not entirely confident these are going to work in here, just because there's nowhere for the plastic to go if it does cut, but the only thing we can do is try, see what happens. So we've got our tool into the fly press now, just rig something up very quickly. It's all very temporary, but hopefully it'll do the job. This is a wee fly press we picked up recently. It's a number 1 or 2, so it's a baby, but I'm hoping it'll have enough power for this job. So I've just had to clap it temporarily to the bench. I have a base plate in and a piece of HDPE thrown under the tool. So get a bit of a plastic cut here, and we're going to give it a go. So that was a fail. It is close to going through, but it hasn't actually cut right through. So we picked this press up at auction a few months back, and it's just been sitting. So what I actually did was just oiled up the slideway and the screw to see if that helped, because the thread was quite tight. So we'll give it another go now, fingers crossed. Took a few hits, but it appears to have worked. So you can see the wads here from the holes are sitting a lot higher. They're raised quite a bit. So just as we thought, we're having some problems there with that. But I have noticed on the HDPE sheet that was underneath, you can see these are indented quite a bit. So what I'm thinking is I might take a drill and drill these down a bit, and then line the die and the bottom bit back up and try to punch again. So I've put a few holes in the bottom plate, so I'm going to try again, but here's actually the first part. So I got it out of the die there. So I'd say it's a half success, got a usable part, just feels like we're putting too much effort in to get it. Yeah, so that was a lot better. So if you can see, that worked nice. That was first go with the punch. These holes here haven't cut clean, so I need to have a look at that. I may have put these holes in the plate too deep. So I've went away from the holes, but what I have done is plant this in place and cycled the die onto this a few times, and I'm hoping that's going to give us a cleaner cut through the holes. So I've also just cut a small piece of material. I'm fine with holding the material. I'm not getting a proper swing on the fly press, so see if this is any better. So again it worked, but we're not really getting a clean cut on these holes. So that last one went pretty well, but still wasn't perfect, so I'm going to give it another go, just to see if this bottom plate will wear another. I'm wondering if it's something slightly softer, would it help also? that was definitely better. It is pretty well in there. I'm wondering if we should put our thumb in there. So again, cutting the outside profile pretty well, but still not clearing the holes. I think it's almost time we got our foam out for making our ejector. But even with this, it is still relatively quick. So this will definitely save on machine time, and it's also quicker when machining them. So it's not very scientific, but I swapped to a different piece of plastic for my bottom plate. See that? The holes are now actually working. There's a wee bit left there, but they just pop off. So I would call that a success. So I've taken a bit of silicone foam and cut it into stamped it with the die and just left it in. And hopefully this is going to help me eject while leaving enough space in there for the plastic to cut cleanly still. So we'll give it a try. So the holes just haven't cut as clean now this time. but it's definitely easier to remove the blank. So what I think I'll do, I've only one more piece left. I'm going to cut it as usual, but I'm actually going to give it another strike just to see if it'll clean these holes out. So that definitely helped the holes. They've all just popped off there. See how easy it is to get out. So you just need to give a wee pop to get started. So that part came out really nice. Slight wee burr there, but in general the edges are quite clean. And there is a small burr on the holes, but I think just a touch with a countersink should clean them up. So yeah, they've cleaned up perfectly well. So quite surprisingly, this turned out to be quite a success. Not only have we been able to free up our CNC to cut all our parts, the speed at which we can now stamp these out is way quicker than we could machine them. So I could literally stamp out a full sheet of the blanks in probably less time than it would take to strip the faces and clean the machine down just to set the jig on, never mind starting to actually machine the parts. So that's been a win. There is, however, a few things I would definitely want to do different. So if I was making this to pump out thousands of parts, I would probably look at proper ejectors. I'd also make the die itself out of thicker material. This just happened to be the thickness of material we had in stock, so we went with it. You'll also see we did make the tool holder, the clamping bar, the full length of the tool, and that was just to help with the rigidity a wee bit, and I'm guessing it's doing something. If you'll notice earlier in the video, the tool holder actually finishes about here and here. So I think the biggest point of the whole setup was actually the fly press. Now it was very quickly rigged together, just a test. It is a baby fly press, it's probably a number 1 or number 2, so it doesn't have a lot of piff, relatively speaking. So I think we definitely want to put it in our number 4 or number 5 next time. Also want to set it up right. You obviously want your tool holder right up at the ram and a proper riser block put in there. Also a softer material underneath might help things a bit, but again the extra power of the larger fly press might eradicate that problem altogether. That extra power might work in our favour for the holes. So if you notice at the end of the video I give it an extra couple of strikes after we had cut, and that was enough to clean the holes. I'm guessing you could probably do that in one strike with the heavier fly press. So I also realise most people don't have the luxury of a CNC at their disposal, but I definitely think you could probably get the same sort of results with just steel die, just making up a steel rule die, and you need very few tools to do this. You can get creative on how to bend it. So basically anyone with a basic workshop will be able to make steel reel dies. So it might be worth looking into. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again.